So Jenny is supposed to do this.
The bar is getting there. You will see Facebook Live popping up, and we're now streaming on Facebook Live.
Okay, Melinda, can you back it out to the first slide? There we go. Good morning, Fairfax County and the planet Earth. This is Wednesday Morning Live. 1 million cups, caffeinating entrepreneurs nationwide every Wednesday. Next slide, please. One million cups. The Kauffman Foundation supports entrepreneurship in the United States with education and programs like this to increase opportunities, allowing all people to learn about entrepreneurship, to take risks, and to create their own success for themselves, for their communities. Next slide, please. As business people, we all know that what you keep track of, what you manage improves. And so we keep track of the number of people who attend 1 million cups. Our data is a little sketchy. So if you can shoot a picture of that QR code, it will take you to a registration site that will keep track of all of the attendees. If you're not able to shoot that QR code, you can go to the website, qr.code/gobbledygook, and it will bring up the registration. All you have to do is provide your email address and pick out from the drop-down the meeting that you're attending. For those of us who attend all the time, if you didn't register last week, you will also be able to register for last week too, but it's going to take 2 passes through the software in order to register for both of them. In any event, check in on our website. Please help us to keep good data about all of you guys attending our program. It's important to us. It's important to the Ewing Kauffman Foundation. And go ahead to the next slide, please. 1 million cups is unusual. I call it Shark Tank without teeth. And the reason for that is that we're involved in presentations from people, not pitches about their business. We're also not like the Shark Tank because we don't have any money to give away, so don't bother pitching us. We're looking to develop a community of authentic connections. We're not just trying to collect names and numbers and stuff like you would at a chamber meeting. This is run for our community of entrepreneurs by the community. We are radically and intentionally inclusive. We want participation of all kinds of people from all over. Welcome to our organizing team. We have a team of people who help put this program on every week, every Wednesday morning, led by the inimitable Jen Dalton, anchored by John Rutenberg, spurred along by Melinda Siegel, energized by Scott Alford. I can't say enough good about Tess. And then you guys will get to know me, and then you can decide. We have brand ambassadors in addition to organizers. Our brand ambassadors are charged with the task of reaching out into the community and bringing people to our 1 million cups as presenters primarily. Although attendees are nice, we need presenters to make our program as exciting as possible. So our ambassadors, Dan Gresham, John Foster, who you'll hear from later today, and Reggie, are our ambassador crew. Next slide, please. I'm not real fond of this text. This text doesn't really communicate what our mission is. Our mission is, as I mentioned, to really facilitate entrepreneurship in the United States, to create an educational experience for each presenter, while also highlighting the uniqueness and value proposition in each local startup community. Our area is unique. Our proximity to the nation's capital makes us a unique community for startups. And we want to generate energy to develop startups in our community to increase economic activity and employment, make everybody happy. Next slide. We have two sponsors. The first sponsor is the Mason Enterprise Center in Fairfax from George Mason University. Today, we're meeting online the first week of every month. Next week included, we will meet in person and online simultaneously. Our in-person location is the Mason Enterprise Center in Fairfax. And Eddie Hill, who runs that facility, is our host. It's a great facility for meetings. If you are in our area, please come by and see us in person at the Mason Enterprise Center next week. I am the profit planner. I provide CFO services for your business and life. And this month, I am the coffee sponsor. I brought coffee to the in-person meeting. We will have a different coffee sponsor next month. I don't know who our coffee sponsor is for next month, but they get to fill in this space on this slide for the entire month next month.
Kenny, it's the one and only Jen Dalton. Stepping forward again.
A wonderful thing. And I
Agreed, John.
understand there's a
Agreed.
rumor she'll be bringing pastries. Next slide,
Yeah,
please.
let's see how John Foster does today. If it goes really well, pastries are in for next week.
So running an online meeting gets complicated. So in order to get our meeting to run smoothly, we have some practices that we use. Please keep your microphone on mute unless you're using the microphone to speak. That holds down background noise and interruptions. There is a hand wave icon to raise your hand in the reaction section of Zoom. Please use that to indicate that you have a statement or a question that you'd like to add to the conversation. If you'd like, you can also wave in addition to that so that we know that you would like to participate. Please type your question or statement into the chat as well, if you would, so we'll have a record of it. When the moderator says your name, please unmute your microphone, give your name and who you are with, and then ask your question or make your comment. Please be brief. We have a lot of people in the room today. We want to give everybody an opportunity to speak who wishes to speak, and then put your microphone back on mute when you're finished. Next slide, please. As mentioned in the previous slide, please introduce yourself when you speak. I may ask you, we have some people here who are newbies, people who haven't been here before. I'm going to ask you now to take a moment, no more than 15 or 20 seconds, to just say hello and introduce yourself. I'm going to go through the list of people I recognize. Jack, you're first on the list. Please just say who you are and your company name.
No worries. I'm Jack Meoff, and I am from Digital Bros in Australia.
Tim, tell us who you are.
Morning, everybody. My name's Tim Boatwright. I work for K2 Consulting, and we are a project management consulting company, primarily to government contractors.
Dory, I know you're not new to the community, but it has been a while. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Dory Howell. I am a branding and headshot photographer based here in Fairfax County, and I provide professional imagery for the camera shy professional.
Thank you. Let me look through here. John Feo. John, you got a microphone on? Darren, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Darren. I'm based in Australia, and I co-own the company Digital Bros with Jack.
Great. Most of the other folks here I recognize, so I'm going to pass you over for this. We want to make this a great, welcoming community. We're not here to tear each other up, so we want to be really delicate with the way we speak in order to facilitate the conversation. So, for example, instead of saying I disagree, consider having a different perspective. Consider saying you have a different perspective, which you think might be able to help out. And be appreciative of what people say and be open about your appreciation. Thank you for the context is a great phrase to use. I understand what you're saying. Would you mind clarifying something for me? Politeness goes a long way to facilitating community. And so that's what we're asking for. Be polite, be respectful of everybody here. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce our presenters today, Jen Dalton from Brand Mirror and John Foster from Everywhere. John, I didn't know until recently, John is an expert on LinkedIn, and Jen has been involved with using LinkedIn and sharing how to use LinkedIn for years and years in her role in personal branding, helping people with their personal branding. So I'm going to turn the floor over to John and Jen to lead a discussion about leveraging LinkedIn. Take it forward.
Great. Well, Ken, really appreciate it. And it is wonderful to be here. Yeah, one of the things that I guess just from a quick bit of background as far as the LinkedIn, I usually come here to as far as 1 Million Cups here representing Green Fair. And so that's the local business that I represent. But I also, for the last 12 years, have been teaching LinkedIn at Career Network Ministry through McLean Bible Church. And I've also done it under contract for Arlington County and a couple other places. So LinkedIn is something that I, do. My focus on it, typically is around people who are and underemployed. But the reality of it is all the concepts apply to, small business, so in a sense, if you're, unemployed and looking for work, you're self-employed without a paycheck. And so what you want to do is, you're in charge of everything, and marketing is one of those things. And so LinkedIn, really what LinkedIn is, a free marketing tool for you. There's the free version of LinkedIn, and we can touch on the paid version as well. But the free version of LinkedIn for a long time has, had just tremendous capability. In fact, I'm still using the free version. But there are a number of other versions, versions of LinkedIn that you can use as well that range from $30 to $90 a month. So LinkedIn, one of the things I wanted to just touch on as we kind of jump into this, and I would like to keep this as a discussion. Most of the classes I run really run from a discussion standpoint, because I guarantee you everybody here is going to be in a different spot as far as LinkedIn goes. I know somebody came on and mentioned, well, I don't know what all the hype about LinkedIn is. And then you've got other people who are using LinkedIn, across the board, using all aspects of LinkedIn. So one of the things I wanted to do was just run through a few facts as far as LinkedIn goes. I'm always fascinated with, I was disabled for screen sharing. Can I get screen sharing there?
You have it back. You should be good, John.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jen. There we go. So let's see here. I'm going to jump over here. And there we go. You should be able to see my screen now. So just some interesting LinkedIn facts. Just want to run through a handful of them. I think, give me a second here. There we go. So a couple of things about LinkedIn. Oops, apologize. Let me take that off here. So here's just a list of a few facts as far as LinkedIn goes. And I'll draw your attention to a couple of them. You look at the number of people who are joining LinkedIn every second. Now, from a business standpoint, Microsoft did a really good thing for them anyway when they purchased LinkedIn at least 5 years ago, and you see they have a bunch of revenue from LinkedIn. One of the things I want to point out is that LinkedIn really over the last 5 years, and again, not to harp on COVID, but COVID was largely responsible for the growth, the exponential growth of LinkedIn, because it was really one of the few ways that people could connect and that businesses could go out and find people. And so LinkedIn grew from about 450 million people to over 800 million people. I think there may be close to 900 million people now. A couple 100 million of those people in the United States, followed up by India with 101 million. So, the question of why is this so important? Well, from a business standpoint, if you look at the demographics of LinkedIn, and you'll notice down there, you've got a large number of executives on LinkedIn and businesses. And so from a marketing standpoint, LinkedIn is probably the I'll say de facto platform as far as looking at it from B2B marketing. Couple other interesting things down towards the bottom. 7 times more likely to be found if you have a profile picture on LinkedIn. So certainly makes a case for Dory's business to make sure that you're well represented on LinkedIn. So just again, from a LinkedIn perspective, I think it's important that that's why we're here, and I think why we've got some interest as far as LinkedIn goes. For those of you that are taking advantage of LinkedIn, I'd be curious. I'd be curious on any feedback from people as far as LinkedIn goes, and what your experience has been. Just from anybody feel like chiming in about that.
Well, you can count on me, John.
Of course, Ken.
A couple of years back, I was recruiting financial advisors to become members of a volunteer organization, and used LinkedIn extensively. This was before they throttled things down a bit, but I recruited and contacted probably a couple of hundred financial advisors, and was very successful in developing conversations with them on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And telling them the story of what we were doing and recruiting them into the organization to participate in our program. It was a way of directly reaching out. This was before people were posting tons of content. And so it wasn't quite as easy to get lost in the noise. But we did it through direct messaging, which, we could do direct messaging. And this was done manually. This was not done with automation. This was real people reaching out with real verbiage. And it was amazing. It was just incredible. It was a great way to market.
Hey,
Great. Let's
Ken.
go with Jack.
Yeah.
John.
Oh, good. You guys got it.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, cool stuff. Thank you for having me talking. Look, so my experience with LinkedIn has been I normally follow a bunch of people, and then they come back to me like I have no response. It's like dry. Like let's say, for example, I try to slide into Jen's DMs if I want something, right? Or if I want to work for like something near them, right? I slide in the DMs and then like I don't get read, so that's how I find it useless. I don't know if I'm using it wrong, or I don't know if like my DMs are getting ignored, like what's happening.
So Jack, I think one of the things around that, I'll say from a networking perspective, I look at LinkedIn from a networking perspective. I don't know from how proactive you are as far as, the connecting piece of LinkedIn. You fairly active as far as connecting with people?
Yeah, so like I'm sliding into everyone's DMs. I'm asking those proactive questions, open-ended questions, but I'm just not getting any response. I see people viewing my profile, but like no one else like sliding back into my DMs.
Okay. So when you see people viewing your profile, do you reach back out to them?
No, because like they didn't reply to my DM, so I'm like taking that as like they're an op to me, you know?
Yeah, and you know, and I'll say part of that, Jack, is it's going to depend upon the individuals, because there's some people who are, you know, active users on LinkedIn and some who are not as active. So I would say that as far as working on, you know, developing the you know, the relationships with people on LinkedIn, like, you know, everybody here, you have the opportunity to connect with people here. And I also think that it is one of the challenges right now is just the sheer amount of content. But what fundamentally I find is the using LinkedIn as a way to start that, you know, start the relationship. And for those people that you want to connect with, stay involved in that relationship. I do find sometimes it takes time.
If I can jump in for one.
Sure,
second,
Jen.
Yep, sure, definitely.
Tim, do you mind if I look at your profile for 1 second on the shared screen? Tim Boatwright.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay.
Well,
So-
wait, are you gonna say it's good, or are you gonna say it's bad? I might change my.
I am not going to answer that. What I was going to say is that, you know, to John Foster's point, when we go to connect with people, which I think is one of the things you can do, the other thing you can do is follow someone, comment on their content, share their content. But you always want to add a note, right? You always want to be personal and let people know why you're reaching out to them. So I might tell Tim, it was great to see you this morning at 1 Million Cups. I look forward to supporting your business. Let me know how I can help. And so if you're out networking in person or virtually, this is an important thing when you reach out. It needs to be authentic, genuine, not a canned message. And a lot of people, when they reach out through InMail, because they're not connected, or even if they are connected, that lack of authentic connection and that message can really be a downer as to why people might not respond. So hopefully Tim will accept my invitation.
Jen, I will say that's probably the number one thing when I'm talking to people about LinkedIn is that I mean, fundamentally, it's about relationship, you know, not that you're going to have a relationship with every single person, but certainly for those people, and to your point, the personalizing that invitation, it to me is a fundamental piece of that, which doesn't get done enough.
And just to let people know, I mean, when people come to your profile, they spend about 3 to 6 seconds. And so, Tim, to your question, you know, what do I learn about you here in 3 to 6 seconds? And how do I make that as easy as possible? And so, you know, there's not a custom banner, which there could be. I can't see your face as well as I would like. I'd love to zoom in a little bit more. But I think, you know, John, going back to your question to the group, one of the most important ways I use LinkedIn for clients is to use their company page. And right now, I'm not seeing one for K2. There might be one, I have not looked yet. But I think, you know, running ads on LinkedIn in very targeted ways, if you're doing webinars or case studies, really rich content, is a huge return on investment for companies. And I know, John, if you've seen the same, but I think for my clients, that's a huge way that they use LinkedIn. That's really beneficial. And again, not as expensive as other platforms.
Yeah, the other thing, Jen, along that line is the company page, but as well as the you know, having a well-developed profile, because that's gonna and Tim, you know, Jen pointed out, you know, the background, because really when somebody comes to your page, I mean, this is free marketing for you. And so for you, if you're particularly in the small community that you mentioned that you were in, it's going to be even, I'll say more, it's be very important to you, you know, to make sure when people come to your page, they know what you're about. And the other thing I would say is that the other people in your company, I'd also suggest that they are on LinkedIn as well. I was working with a small company in DC who wanted all their employees on LinkedIn, because from a social media standpoint, it's going to do nothing but help that company, you know, around, you know, raising awareness.
Well, I think you know, Tess also mentioned doing a custom banner.
Yep.
It's Canva, but a lot of brand folks use Adobe. But you can make a custom banner with the website or with the call to action or with something where when someone comes to your profile, they see exactly what you do. I also think the highlight underneath your name, this headline, is a huge driver of search results. And so you want to make sure in your profile, you've really got the keywords that would resonate. And so as you think about like Google search, what are people searching for on LinkedIn? And are those words in your profile? I see we have Carolyn. You have
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and ask you to unmute, Carolyn.
Thanks, Jen.
I hope Tim doesn't feel picked on.
I'm going to switch to Carolyn so she
No,
does.
this is all good stuff.
We'll come back and we'll go back and forth. Carolyn, what question do you have?
I just want to know how to reach people. I mean, I think I've hit a lot of these things. I have to change my banner, but I want to know how to get people to engage. That's always the thing. And like you said, it's that 3 to 6 second thing. A lot of people are viewing my profile. And then I like what John said is that to go in and then engage them once they viewed your profile. And that's a piece I wasn't doing. So that's one thing I want to be able to add to that. And but yeah, I just want to get people to engage more with my content.
So one of the things that Carol and I would look at is, so I noticed you've got 466 followers. So one of the things that I would think about is, when Jen's pointed out about personalizing, and I'm not sure if you're marketing to businesses or individuals or maybe both. And so if you're marketing to businesses, you're going to reach out to those businesses and people, the key people in the businesses that you would find strategic for what it is you want to do. And so from I would work on the networking piece a little bit every day and figuring out from a strategic standpoint. That's one of the things I think that also has changed over time is it used to be that people would say, I connect with everyone, everyone who, anyone and everyone. But in today's day and age, I think you really do need to be more strategic around who it is you're connecting with.
Right.
From a sheer time standpoint.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you just said is to do it daily.
Mhm.
So what would that look like? I mean, 30 minutes, 45 minutes of just going in there and just being engaged with the people that have looked at you. How do I attack it?
So there are a couple of, and Jen, if you want to weigh in on this, my attitude about that is that there are a couple of different ways to do that. You can certainly, I don't know if you're a part of any of the groups on LinkedIn. That's one way to leverage your time.
Okay.
The other thing, as far as just choosing to connect and with people, decide you're going to, connect with. It can be a couple, 2 or 3 people a day, because it doesn't take long to write an invitation, and that goes back to what your marketing plan is, Carolyn.
Okay.
Who are the organizations that you need to connect with? Look at start following those organizations on LinkedIn, and then start to connect with people in those organizations. And so in a sense, you're building, you're building a network within those organizations.
And one of the things that I would recommend, Carolyn, is if you have premium, which is one reason why I pay for premium, you can go and look at who is looking at your profile. And so I think it's important to define your audiences on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Who are the top 3 to 4 audiences, and are those people showing up? And if you look under who's viewing your profile, are these people that make sense? For me, it's executive CEOs. Is that who I'm seeing? For other people, you also want to look at, how are you showing up in search? Our keywords. I want people who look for speakers. Well, there's someone who searched for speaker and I showed up. So that means my keywords are working. I don't know about doctor.
Well,
but the
work
other
at a
ones are true, right?
Yeah.
But this is a way to validate the keywords in your profile is if you go under analytics and you look at how often are you showing up in search? And that's every week.
Mm-hmm.
is that going up? So I do post daily. I try to, I have not recently because I've been busy doing that for my clients. But I do think having a plan on Mondays, I'm gonna share an article or insight. Tuesday, I'm gonna reach out and connect with someone or write a recommendation. Wednesday, I'm gonna do XYZ. So what I find, and I think this is probably true for everybody, when we go to plan our content, we don't want to log into LinkedIn without a plan, because then you're going to sit there going, what do I do? And it's going to waste a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a plan for how you want to engage and what kind of content you want to share to your business page as well as your personal page.
Right. And also, one thing I was thinking about, like, not keeping premium for just because it's just not, it doesn't feel like it's working for me. When I was looking for a job, yes, sure, awesome. But now I'm more like just seeking engagements and potentially clients for my coaching business and not necessarily for my career. So what do you think
Keep
about
in
that?
mind premium, it depends on your marketing budget, but I also think if you don't have a plan, it's not going to work. So
Right.
I would try it for 30 days, see what responses you get, but premium gets you moved up in search. It gets you to see who's looking at your profile. So just use it strategically. I wouldn't pay for it until you have a plan for how you want to use it.
Okay.
Jen,
Do you have a plan for me?
Yeah.
I got a plan for you.
Yeah.
All right.
So the other thing, Carolyn, just along that line is the other thing I would do is certainly, and this is true for everybody, make sure, take full advantage of the free version first. I mean, make sure your profile is, you're doing everything with the free version. And then, and this is true for everybody, LinkedIn will give you 30 days for free to try it and, give it a shot. But I think Jen's point is key is that you do need to have a plan around that as far as what it is you're going to do.
And one of the things, if you are going to be creating and publishing content, is they have a creator mode capability now. It's been around for a while, but you can go in and you can put in what you're known for, what you're talking about. So again, think about
Can I just hop in quickly?
Yeah, Jack,
So
go
sorry.
ahead. What's your question?
So sorry to interrupt, but I think my LinkedIn profile will be way more interesting. Can we have a look at that one and I can see what's going on if that's okay? We can just take like 2 minutes to have a look.
You can put your LinkedIn profile in chat and I'll circle back to it in a second.
No worries. Thank you so much, Jen.
Yep. I didn't find you online. So that's another thing. You want to make sure that your profile settings are also.
I just sent it in the chat.
Let me finish my thought. So you want to make sure that you know what your profile settings look like and what your summary looks like. So you want to make sure you know your visibility too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So John, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll go ahead and look at Jack's profile and then we can reshare again.
Yep.
If you want to share your screen and speak to a couple of examples too.
Okay. And I was going to say, Jen, we had some questions. Jen Pasquale.
Oh, okay, making sure. Thanks, John. So I had a question going back to what you guys were talking about the profiles, and was trying to figure out for the business profiles. So I have a business profile. What I'm getting ready to do is essentially take two somewhat separate but similar efforts of what I do and pull them under one umbrella. So the challenge I'm trying to figure out is how do I, because I have an audience, my current sort of business is a military focused audience, but I have this other effort that's more corporate focused. So I'm trying to figure out if you have several different distinct audiences, how do you leverage that business profile in a way that's not confusing because you're talking to several different people? Do you have any ideas or suggestions? I was thinking about maybe a group for the military audience, but I would be open to any other ideas about how to kind of speak to both of them through that effort.
So you certainly could. So you're putting this up under one umbrella?
Yep.
Okay. So certainly one of the things as you do that, I'll say on your LinkedIn profile, and it may be under both the company page as well as your individual page. on the individual page, you have an about section, which enables you to, tell your story, if you will. So that could be part of, what you're doing as far as this, you're coming up under one umbrella. And Jen, why are you doing that? I'm just curious as far as.
It's just as the two have morphed, there's enough synergy between them that it just is easier, frankly, for me.
Okay. So you're finding the two needs and things, the groups are coming together and that you can fulfill the needs for both. So if that's the case, then I would think from, going back to the about section, but also as you're starting to, and this goes back to the posting, as you're posting for those common things that you're helping both those groups out with, will help draw people to your, to your profile.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's what I've tried to do. It just, I feel like a little bit of a squirrel, like I'm over here talking about that and I'm over there talking about that. And so I don't know if sort of my ideal client sees it that way too, or if it's just me being too close to it.
I do think from a personal brand standpoint, and this is a question I think a lot of people face, think of the 3 things you are trying to be known for, and these need to be woven through your profile. And in your case, I've got your profile up on screen, looking at the Gallup strengths, you've got all of those keywords here in your banner. So it makes a first impression. I do think, the about is a way where you can tell that story. I think in your LinkedIn profile, as you look at experience and move up in time, you also want to have the story evolve and reflect where you are today too. Right. So that you have disparate roles, they make sense. You've got your featured section. I might think about, do you have a video, 1-minute video that you keep here to say, hey, here's what I'm doing, get to know me? Because video is really important. And for me, I do 1 Million Cups and I do, Giving Circle and I do other things, but there are common threads for why I do this and what I do. So I think for each of us, as we balance, hopefully the older we get, the more interesting we get and we have more material to share. But you still want to plan that out in content too, so that people see a consistent message. It might be 1 or 2 messages, right? And so I think as you flesh out your profile, be mindful of that. I do think you need a company page. I think that would help, and a group. And again, you have your speaker, so you could add that as a role too to help be found as a speaker.
And Jen, along that line about the company page, so you don't have a company page?
So I have a company page for Pride and Grit, but what I'm getting ready to do is take all that consulting work and enroll it under the Pride and Grit name. So it'll all be under one sort of umbrella here soon. But no, the video is a great idea, Jen. Thank you for that. That would be a great way to just quickly explain all the places I have myself.
Yeah.
And so just to circle back to Jack, and it looks like you might have created this profile relatively quickly, Jack. But what I would say is, we want to have
I'm not that advanced with these types of things. I got stuck with the Dihi software, Dihi's.
Well, what I would say is, we want you to think about, especially for professionals or entrepreneurs starting out, again, what are the 3 things you're trying to get people to know? If you're doing digital brand, if you're wanting to showcase your graphic design, if you're wanting to showcase SEO, whatever that is, that needs to be woven in here. But I think it's very important to have a real photo of someone here, because otherwise,
so should I do me, or like
that should be
absolutely
a professional headshot of you.
But like, what happens if people like roast me?
Well, then they're not your people.
No worries.
Right? Then they're not your people. But I think whether someone's in high school, college, or earlier in their career, we want to give people evidence so they know when they should reach out to you and why they should work with you. And I'm going to talk with you offline too, because I know we all have other profiles, but people want to look at.
And then my skills. What do I need to do there? Is that enough skills of mine, or like what's happening?
So I think the number you can put out there is 50 skills. My perspective is there's no way we all have 50 skills. Pick your top 10.
Yeah.
And really make sure they're amazing and they capture who you are. Also go back for folks who are further in their career and make sure these are the top 3 that you want right now to be featured on your profiles, because this is also a big driver in search. And a lot of
Got it.
people can either endorse you for a skill, or you can endorse, like you can add a skill. So sometimes people endorse you for stuff that you don't want. You go back and clean up
Got
your
it.
skills so they look accurate.
And then would you
What
say there's
would
many?
you?
Would
Sorry,
you
hold
say
on
there's
one.
many people?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say there's many people in your DMs, or like what's happening?
So what I would say for skills is if you've worked with people, you want to reach out and endorse them for what they've done. You can also
Okay.
ask them to endorse you for what you've done, but that's something you have to build over time. John, what would you?
Yeah, Jen, same thing. I think you want to be mindful of the skills and certainly the top 3 skills that you want to be found for. I agree with you, Jen. 50 skills is overkill, but I would definitely make sure, because the top 10 that you want to be found for, because that's, from a search standpoint, that's what people will be searching for. The other thing around that is also in that about section as well. You want to pay attention to those top 4 lines in your about section, because those don't show up, and people have to hit show more. So those top 4 lines, you want to make sure, have impact, because that's kind of key space, because that's one of the few things that people will see, when they come to your profile. So again, it's that the top part of your profile is the most viewed part of your profile. So you want to make sure that you got all of those elements. And that's why Jen pointed out, having a picture of yourself, why that background piece is so important, because that's going to start communicating something about your brand right off the bat before somebody starts reading.
And one thing I'll show here, I mentioned earlier to look at your profile settings. Some people have their profile set, so if you're not connected with them, they don't see everything on your profile, including your headshot. So Thomas, I don't know if that's the case with you. You probably have a headshot, but because we're not connected, I don't see it. So if you're in business development and you haven't built a connection yet, you want to make sure that profile setting is updated. Otherwise, people aren't seeing you, and they're 14 times less likely to connect with you if they don't see your face. And so the connect is not obvious here unless you go under more. And I would, of course, add a note. Typically, I'm not going to right now because we are literally talking to each other. But again, where you would go and change that is when you go to your profile page, click on public profile and URL.
Are your followers botted? Because I can see you have like 5,400. Are those like all fake, or like?
No, they're not fake.
Yeah.
I just am old. No, I have a large network.
Jen, I have to interrupt for a moment.
Please,
because before I want to quote you said, as you get older, hopefully you get more creative. So therefore, for some of the people in the room, there's hope for us, huh?
John, there's so much
facts.
for all of us.
John, you should be really creative.
Dude, I'm trying every day of my life. I wrote some questions in the chat.
The other thing I would recommend, and I think this is important. So for some of you who are trying to be speakers, or if you're an author, add these to your profile. Those keywords in your job titles also drive up search. The other thing is, if you have a company page, you can do a newsletter through here. And you can use a newsletter, functionality that's new.
Are those like fake newsletters, or like what's happening?
No, they're real.
No.
So if you guys can put questions in chat, that'd be awesome.
No worries, we'll do.
One thing I would say for everybody too is use the articles feature on LinkedIn. If you're publishing a blog to your website, whether it's a video blog or a written blog, republish those.
Can I just add something in, like my final opinion? Can I just add something in?
I don't believe that's your final opinion, John. You can try it.
All right, look, so I just want to say that forehead is absolutely glaring at the moment, but anyway, I'll allow it. It's been distracting me this whole meeting. Anyway, I'll allow it. Look, I know you guys are looking like, John, what's happening with me? Hey, we have 2 Johns, John Rottenberg, John Foster. Thank you for the meeting, guys. Thank you so much for the meeting. But I just want to say, look, John Rottenberg has been giving me some leaked news, bro. And he said he has a crush on you, like John.
All right, so I'm going to move us back to looking at profiles. So the I was getting ready to talk about was just around making sure you're using the article's features and functionality. John, did you want to
Yeah.
add anything here?
Actually, I was going to jump Jen over to the John Rutenberg had a question, as did Tim in the chat, and I know we're starting to get close on time. We want to make sure we covered any questions that were.
I'm happy to yield. We can always catch up. But I wanted to know what you get at the $30 or $40 per month rate and what you get at the $80 or $90 rate. What are the differences?
Yeah, so Jen, are you using Sales Navigator, Jen?
Not for me, but I do have Sales Navigator for a client. Yes.
Okay, all right. So John, I'll start with the kind of the to me, one of the big differences, and I don't know if I can address exactly between the 30 and the 90, but you've got one of the big things, and it's one that Jen pointed out, is the ability to see who's viewed your profile. And in the free version, you get to see the last 5 people. Now, one of the things they're starting to change, and I'll say one of the certainly challenges of LinkedIn is there was a lot of change going on LinkedIn. But you can see the last 5 people who viewed your profile. And then they also tempt you with kind of descriptions of a bunch of other people of different companies or positions of who's viewed your profile. But in the paid version, you get to see the last, for the last 90 days of who's viewed your profile. So you can go back and, connect with those people, find out why they viewed your profile, et cetera. You also get some additional things as far as email or in-mail goes. You get, and then depending upon how much you've paid, you get so many an increasing number of in-mail as well. Personally, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of in-mail. I haven't seen it. I've tried it, and I've got people coming back to me and say, just connect with me. Just connect with me on email.
Sure.
And yeah, and then there's some other things that LinkedIn goes. I think the analytics, which Jen pointed out, on the paid version, can be helpful. But again, depends on what your budget is. I would say that, a lot of people can take advantage of the free version and spend some time going in the free version. And then at some point, and I think the other thing which will happen is LinkedIn, is eventually going to force us to a paid version. It's in some form or fashion. But as of right now, the free version can get you pretty far.
One thing I would point out, if you don't have your top 10 influencers, and I mean who you follow that influences you, if you don't have your top journalists that you follow, one of my clients, there was a story in Washington Business Journal front page last year, and it was a topic relevant to my client. So from the company page, I shared that article, tagged the author, and they ended up reaching back out, very interested, and wrote a feature piece on my client a month later. And so you have to be very specific to really get results on LinkedIn, but that's an example of how that can work.
Yeah, the other thing, Jen, around that, and I think it really comes back to the strength and the power of LinkedIn. I mean, I've connected with some people I never thought I'd be able to connect with, and I think that's one of the things about LinkedIn from a culture standpoint. People are on LinkedIn to connect and to network. It's not to say that you're going to be successful in every case, but I got to tell you, you'll be, if you are consistent about it, you will reach success.
Melinda also has a question.
Melinda, go ahead.
Sure, I'm typing summaries at the same time.
Yeah.
My question, I've been on LinkedIn longer than most people. I started in January of 2004 when I was living in Chicago. So I'm maxed out with a lot. I have a complete profile that goes back to when I started working. I've heard people say, get rid of a lot of it, redo it, come up with something really short, just do I'm ready to do that. And there's a lot, because I too, like John R., I've done most everything in marketing, but it's not as important anymore. But I also have tons of testimonials, tons of which you don't see as much anymore. And I think testimonials are probably even better than liking somebody's skills. I mean, I've probably got over 100 skills up there that I'm maxed out at 99 people saying I'm great at.
I do think, so to your point, recommendations are huge. They move you up in search if you have 5 or more. I think it's very important to ask for recommendations and give recommendations.
Yeah.
I do think 15 years of career history on LinkedIn is as far back as I would go. If you do 20, it better be really interesting. People are ageist. They will search and discriminate based on age. I wish they didn't, but they do. And I love the idea of at least doing an annual refresh. Go back in, make sure everything's accurate, update things, but it's good to go back and, especially from a personal brand standpoint, update them.
So my question is, I've been doing my own business for the last 20 years. And what's made me who I am is my work history. It's Timex, Warner Lambert, Best Foods, Fidel Sassoon, Neutrogena, and all that other stuff. Once I cut that out, it loses a lot of the breadth that gives me the credentials of where I am today. And I don't know how to include some of that other than prior and just do a quick summary and just talk about my own business, which I think is probably more of a direction that would make sense. And then just do some of the highlights of some of my clients that I've had over the years.
So I think that goes back to what content is everybody here interested and excited about creating and sharing. Some people like to write, and you can, Melinda, you have a lot of experience. So if you said, hey, what's something that people still get wrong that I could write about or do a video about or do a LinkedIn Live interview, right? And so if you hate video, don't do video because you're never going to do it. If you hate writing, don't say you're going to write because you're never going to do it unless you pay somebody. But going back and thinking about what do you know that could help other people and how do you want to deliver that content on LinkedIn goes a very long way, whether you're in the job search or whether you're an entrepreneur. The more we can show people how we think, remember, we always say telepathy is not a strategy, the more they know why they should work with you and how you work, because we are not a good fit for everybody. So that's the other thing too. If you share what you know, people will be attracted to you based on you and your background. John, you were going to ask.
Yeah, Jen, real quick on the experience side, one of the things, and there's I'll say a balance on that, because I have found, I go back all the way to 84. And the reason I did that is because I worked at Merrill Lynch and a couple of other companies. And from a networking standpoint, it has been very valuable. And so I've just not gotten, from a age standpoint, I guess my age is my age. And so I can't hide it really. And so for me, the value of the networking, going back from an experience standpoint, don't highlight it, but I do have the company names in there, from a networking standpoint, which has been valuable to me.
Well, and if somebody says, I'm looking for a marketing person and I want them to have had brand experience at the top 500, Fortune companies, then yes, you want to put those companies on your profile.
Yeah.
But if the experience doesn't help you from a search standpoint get found or doesn't tell the story, then you just want to be mindful of why you have it.
Yeah.
I know we only have 4 minutes left, so I don't know if we have any last minute questions, but we've covered a lot. And John and I could probably speak for a week and deliver every day for a week and still not cover it. So
I will shamelessly promote. I do teach a class at 12:14 on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. And as I said, it is focused around job search, but all the concepts apply to, the other things that we do. So throw that out there.
So bravo to Mr. Foster and to Jen. Fantastic listening to you guys. Really appreciated the time this morning and your focus and giving us good ideas. So thank you very, very much.
Always fun to be here.
You are pretty consistent, my man. Must be your first name.
Yeah, it's all about the name, John.
Watch this. Norse, are you out there? Wake up.
Am I on?
You are back up,
Yes.
Ken.
Ah, okay.
We all go
Welcome
back
back.
one. There you go.
So, thank you all for joining us today. This has been a great session, and I would really like to welcome all of the people who are relatively new to 1 Million Cups Fairfax. Every Wednesday morning, come on back. Stimulating discussions like next week's presenter from Engineer D. I'm sorry, I don't have any background on this gentleman. Does another organizer have something that they can throw on the pile to introduce our presenter next week?
Yeah.
John Greenberg, I was looking at you, but I would
Okay, I
say
couldn't decide. Go
come
ahead.
meet Rehan, Engineered is his company, and he will share his business challenge next week. So more to come on that. John, do you have his business challenge question?
When I spoke with him, he was having a hard time finding the staff that share his vision and goals for a sustainable product.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Exciting.
Next slide. This is our full presenter schedule going back a ways. And then we have coming up on the 12th, Dark Horse Nutrition. Carolyn Mack, who is here with us this morning, will be on the 19th. We have an open slot at the end of July for people. Everybody in business has a problem. Let us help you with that problem. It's a cooperative community, as you've seen, and we'll be happy to hear about what you're doing and see if we can help you with the problem you bring to us. Next slide. There's a huge number of upcoming events.
Baz,
This
do you want to call out any?
Sure, we've got, just to let everybody know, there are more events that are listed in the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce events listing. However, we've got actually getting ready to start in just a few minutes. There's an SEO and social selling webinar that's going to be on, and that's virtual. And then we've got different celebrations for Independence Day coming up. And if you would just make a note that there was a slight change, that fireworks in Fairfax, if you're going to attend that, it is not on Tuesday, it is on Sunday night.
And I understand that the Fairfax City July 4th parade is the best in the nation.
Yes, it is. Right in the heart of downtown Fairfax.
Next slide. We would love to have more people join us as organizers. Many hands make light work. It's not a big commitment of time, but the payback is gigantic. It's payback in community, it's payback in knowledge, it's payback in experience. And if you support the mission of 1 Million Cups Fairfax, take the step up to the next level and become an organizer with us. Your help will be greatly appreciated. Next slide. I happened the other day to shoot this QR code. This QR code is awesome. This QR code will get you to not only all of our social media presence, but it will also get you to our YouTube site where all of our prior presenters are archived so that you can pick up great information going back quite a long ways. So follow us on social media. I recommend strongly shooting this QR code. It's a great destination for information about 1 Million Cups Fairfax. Next slide. Thank you again. Unless I'm mistaken, I think this is the end of the show right at 10:01.
Right.
Great work, team.
Thank you.
Great
Ken.
job,
Well
Ken.